Hello, and welcome to another update on our financial goals. We are now in the fourth quarter, so let's see how much progress we've made since my quarter two check-in and if we've met any goals yet. At the beginning of the year, my husband and I set some income, savings, debt payoff, and spending goals for the year. I'm going to recap each of them as I go over our quarter three progress. Also, since we're entering quarter four, I've been starting to think about what goals we will set for the new year. We're still not really sure what we want to focus on, so if you have any ideas, then leave them in the comments. For some background, if you're new here, my husband and I are in our 30s, and we have an almost 1-year-old, which you might be hearing in the background. She'll be 1 in just about a week. This year, we've been having a low spend year, and we've been really focusing on sticking to a budget so that we can pay off debt and save for retirement, our daughter's education, pay for home repairs, and really any big expense that comes up. At the beginning of the year, I was taking unpaid maternity leave, so our income was greatly reduced. Then when I went back to work, we had the added expense of daycare, and at the same time, we had to replace our roof. So some of our goals needed to be updated because our expenses increased and we really needed to focus on saving to pay off the roof. Now let's get into our goals. Our first goal is for our income, which almost entirely comes from our full-time jobs. I am a software engineer and my husband is an electrical engineer. This year we plan to make $155,000 in take-home pay, and so far we have made $119,000, which is right on track. But I think we are going to surpass this goal because at the beginning of the year, my income was lower, which had us behind our goal. Our tax return and our high yield savings account has really helped us boost our income so far. And it looks like I underestimated what my husband would be contributing to the joint account. Probably because he got 2 bonuses this year, which was unusual. And also he decreased his retirement contributions, which increased his take-home pay. So again, we are at 76% of our goal. We adjusted our savings goals at my 6-month check-in because of the roof savings. We increased our savings goal from $25,000 to $33,000, thinking that we would save the extra $11,000 that we will need for the roof payoff in the first 3 months of next year. We're making really good progress on the roof savings, but we had to make some sacrifices in our other savings goals, namely retirement. Our original savings goal had us saving $72,000, mostly for retirement, but in quarter two we adjusted that to over $84,000. But I guess I didn't decrease our retirement savings goal, so I think there's no way that we can actually achieve that with where our income is projected to be. We were 31% of the way there at 6 months, and now we would be 48% of the way there. I'm going to adjust our goal back down to $72,000 by decreasing our retirement goals. We are still behind where we want to be at 56%, but we are making progress. Once we pay off the roof next April, we're going to have to redirect our income to other savings goals. And we're considering increasing our retirement contributions again or saving for more work that we will need to do around the house. The house stuff should be more quality of life, like a bathroom remodel and other cosmetic things, because we haven't done a bit of painting or decorating since we moved into this house 3 years ago, except for our daughter's nursery. We've already replaced the HVAC and the roof, so hopefully that's the end of our really big expenses. I know we'll have to fix the leak in the pool, but I don't really know how much that could be. Let me know if you have any advice for our savings next year. Our debt payoff goals are not very exciting. We are just planning on continuing to make minimum payments for the rest of the year. We have a mortgage, a car loan, student loans, and a retirement loan that add up to about $500,000. Fortunately, the interest rates are pretty low, but paying extra towards the car loan or the student loans is something that we're considering for next year. The car loan interest rate is the highest, but I'm also considering paying extra on my retirement loan since it keeps me tied to my job for another 7 years, or until I pay it off. Because if I leave my job, the remaining balance becomes due immediately. Now, I'm not planning on quitting anytime soon, but I don't like feeling that this loan is keeping me from leaving anytime that I may want to. So even though the interest rate isn't too high and I'm paying the interest and principal back to myself, I might just want to clear up this loan sooner rather than later. But let me know if you have any thoughts on that. For our Q3 debt payoff goals, we're right on track at 75%. Now moving on to spending. Our fixed expenses are pretty stable. I was expecting our electricity bill and our car insurance to increase in the second half of the year. But so far, our electricity has stayed the same and our car insurance actually decreased. Daycare was a little bit more because we were paying a daily rate and for more days than originally planned. But since September, we've been paying the lower cost weekly rate, and that should remain the same going forward. We plan to keep our fixed expenses at under $12,000 for the year, and currently we're at $9,000, so we're at 77%. For our sinking funds, I was adjusting these a little bit because some things were more expensive than I thought they would be, and there were some categories that I thought that we would spend more on, but we haven't. Overall, I didn't adjust the total amount that we want to contribute this year. I kept it at $20,220, but I increased some funds like pets and home and decreased some others like gifts and travel. We've been right on track funding our funds all year, although after decreasing our restaurant fund, we've actually over-contributed the goal amount. For spending in these sinking funds, ideally we wouldn't spend more than we've contributed in each category, but sometimes things come up and we need to spend more in one category and can just use the funds in the other categories to cover it. It works best for me to keep all the money in these sinking funds in a single account and just keep track of each individual fund on my spreadsheet. But for some people, it may be easier to have separate accounts for each fund and probably fewer funds. But then you have to be careful not to overdraft any one fund, or you may have to be transferring from one fund to another if something comes up. I like doing it this way, although I think it makes it a little bit harder to really stick to a budget since there's this flexibility. But you just need to know yourself and your spending habits and try to figure out what works best for you. As you will see, we have spent ahead in some categories so that we're negative, but on others, we're nowhere near our spending goal. I will use this year's spending to inform our sinking fund goals for next year. But if you've seen any of my budget recaps, then you will know that we've had to make a lot of expensive home maintenance purchases this year, besides just the roof. Our pool pump and filter needed to be replaced, and we've been finishing up our daughter's nursery, and we bought a new washer and dryer since we were constantly fixing the old ones. I'm hoping that in Q4 we won't have to make any more large home purchases. The pool will be closed, we can take a break from yard work, and we have now replaced every appliance in the house. As for our other funds, I was hoping that we wouldn't have any more medical expenses, but I got a really late hospital bill from my daughter's birth last year that I thought we had already taken care of, but that's looking like it's going to be another $700 or $800 to either the baby or health sinking funds, which are already way overspent. We are under on our gifts and donations sinking fund, but most of that spending usually happens at the end of the year around the holidays. So far, we've already spent 82% of our goal. It's nice to see that we're already making so much progress with our savings goal. As for our spending, we could probably cut back on groceries, although I don't really see how. Hopefully, the bulk purchase that we made with Azure will pay off in a lot of saving over the next couple months. But really, we should plan on adjusting our spending goals for next year to match the reality of what things cost. There's not much to say about our debt payoff. We're making slow but steady progress. If you're still watching, then I hope that this has given you inspiration to start thinking about setting some goals for next year. You still have 3 more months, but I hope I have planted the seed that gets you started towards growing a better financial future. If you set goals this year, let me know where you are on your path towards achieving them. If you liked this video or found it at all interesting or helpful, then please hit the like button as it helps other people find this video who may also find it helpful or interesting. If you would like to continue to see more from me, and see if I reach my goals at the end of the year, then subscribe if you haven't already so you can follow along our journey. Thank you for being here.